My friend and I were talking. France is our oldest ally, our unwavering partner in freedom's cause. From the spirit of Marcus de Lafayette, who helped secure the success of our revolution.
That was the President of the United States last night, stumbling through the state dinner with French President Macron. Marcus de Lafayette. Yeah, he plays for the Chicago Bulls, Marcus de Lafayette. He was, of course, referring to the Marquis de Lafayette. Came to the aid of the United States during the Revolutionary War against the British Empire. We were his enemy's enemy. We have Lafayette Square just across from the White House, a.k.a. Lafayette Park, where there is a statue of the Marquis, not Marcus, but the Marquis, Gilbert Dumoutier, Marquis de Lafayette. Joe Biden looks out at Lafayette Park every day from the White House, but he thinks maybe it's named for some guy named Marcus. Maybe Marcus, that's the President of the United States. His brain? What do we know about his brain? His brain? She's a broke, she's a no good. That brain of his, that's a no good one. Shut up your face. That is, boy, this guy, he's really something. President of the United States, for now anyway. What a world. You never know what's going to happen next, do you? And at least we got this backup quarterback in the form of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. You know, Willie Brown, a big Democrat in California, launched her political career. They had a sexual affair, and he helped launch her political career, and really vital to everything that she is today. And he wrote an op-ed saying, for God's sake, don't pick her as vice president, but they did it anyway. We should have taken his word for that. He knows something we don't know. He also knows how to pronounce the Marquis de Lafayette, and the President of the United States does not. Pretty extraordinary guy, this guy we've got living in the White House. Man, oh, Manischewitz. Well, welcome once again. Thursday, 1 week after Thanksgiving Day. And we're still counting votes in Colorado. Do you know that we're still counting? We've still got a House seat undecided. We've still got a Senate seat in Georgia. We have a runoff coming on December 6th. Today is December 1st. And this is because the Democrats have made our elections better. All right? No, we're going to fix them. I'm from Chicago. I think I knew what they meant when they said they were going to fix them. And now that they're fixed, we still don't know. We still don't know. We got a House race. And are there still House races in California that we haven't figured out too? Because the news media, they just don't cover it. They, it's the Democrat Party on TV and the Democrat Party in print and all that stuff. Man, oh, man. What a world. What a crazy, crazy world. And by the way, in Iran, there was a man who was celebrating Iran's World Cup loss to the United States of America. And so naturally he was murdered. He was murdered because they take their kick the ball. They kick their kickball very seriously. Very seriously. Celebrating the U.S. victory over Iran, so he was murdered. Because, not every place can be Indiana. Not everybody's going to be polite. Well, once again, welcome back. This is today and tomorrow on the Chris Plante Show, once a year. We help to raise money for the great people at the Fisher House Foundation. And today we are doing that because it's one of the 2 days, today and tomorrow. And we're still talking about the news and covering the news stories and sharing with you the craziness that the Democrat Party, overwhelmingly Democrat Party, inflicts upon great, decent, God-fearing people here in the United States of America. And so we're asking you to generously donate to the extent that you can. You can give $10. And if America has been very, very good to you, then you should give $1 million today to Fisher House. Every year I ask for someone to donate $1 million to the Fisher House Foundation because they're so great. And you can give money. You must know the Fisher House. They have 93 houses. And they're going for 100 houses, not just across the United States at military hospitals, veterans hospitals. And they accommodate the families primarily of veterans and active duty military, not just wounded combat veterans and their families, their children, their mothers, their wives, their daughters. Those are children too, of course, and but also veterans from the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Second World War, in hospitals for cancer. I've met active duty military people who had children dealing with cancer in military hospitals, VA hospitals, and their families were helped out by the Fisher House Foundation and the Fisher family, just such a great organization. And thus far today, raising today and tomorrow, out of our mothership here in Washington, D.C. at WMAL, raised more than $142,000 thus far. And the phone number to donate is 888-294-8560. So many extraordinary donations already from so many great people, because great Americans listen to this radio program, and that's a good thing. Tony gave $2,000, and Don Hoffager's air conditioning, $2,000. Thomas and Chantilly, $1,000, and David and Warrenton, $1,000. But honestly, if you can give $10 or $20 or $100, please do, because it does all add up very much over time. And we're already, again, almost $143,000 today. Nicole from McLean, Virginia, one of the Real Housewives, one of our Real Housewives, $500, wonderful. And Tony at D9 Tech Resources in Virginia Beach, listing in Virginia Beach, $2,000 from D9 Tech. And you got to support these businesses. And Don Hoffager's air conditioning, $2,000. Great Americans all doing the right thing. So wonderful. So we've got that going. We'll be talking to people from the Fisher House throughout the day and tomorrow as well. But right now, let's go to some Lunch Bucket Joe, because he is, I think the New York Times called him the dumbest president ever. Is that true? No, it's not true. They wouldn't. They worship him. They think he's great. No, really, this inflation, God, it'd be so bad if it weren't for Joe Biden, the inflation. Gas prices, hey, they're down 9 cents. Now they're just twice what they were when he was sworn in. And the open borders. Wonderful. We're going to have more illegal aliens come in through our southern border illegally in 2 years than we had come through Ellis Island over the course of 62 years, while Ellis Island was the East Coast gateway to the United States of America for immigrants from the late 1800s to the 1950s. They took in fewer than 12 million people through Ellis Island. We're now projecting 12, 13 million people in 2 years illegally. All those people came in legally, by the way. But Joe Biden likes it when it's illegal. CNS News is on the job, and CNN is not. Although they are laying people off yesterday, today, and tomorrow at CNN. And I don't like to see anybody lose their jobs. But, if you're as awful, if you suck as much as you do at being news, delivering the news to people, you should expect that you're not going to prosper. And you're not prospering. Nobody's watching. They're not even in airports anymore, I think. I haven't seen them in airports in ages. I think the airports gave up on CNN because they're so awful, because they suck. And people don't watch CNN. Rather watch like the, beach house bargain show at the airport than CNN. But CNS News, back to CNS News, they noticed that Joe Biden, it was day before yesterday, Joe Biden was in Bay City, Michigan, like the Bay City Rollers, and Bay City, Michigan, where he was being an idiot as usual. And CNS News has the story, Craig Bannister. Great stuff. President Biden reassures audience 29 times that he's telling the truth. He likes to say that he's not kidding and he's serious and all that stuff. Joe Biden repeatedly promised his audience he was being truthful on Tuesday when he addressed a South Korean-owned computer chip manufacturer in Bay City, Michigan. Not even American-owned. It's here in the United States, and that's good. South Korean-owned. Joe Biden, here's Joe Biden.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for your introduction. I really mean it. And thanks for your partnership over the past couple of years, pal. I really mean it, and I mean it sincerely.
He means it.
That the rest of the world views the United States as better positioned than any other nation, any other major nation in the world, to lead the world economy in the 21st century. And that's not a joke.
That's not a joke.
But I really mean it. My dad used to have an
means it.
expression, and I mean it sincerely.
He means it.
They're the best in the world. I mean it.
He means
That's
it.
not a joke. That's a fact.
That's not a joke.
That's a fact. I mean it.
Nobody thought it was a joke.
I mean it.
He
I
really
mean
means
it. Literally, not a joke. Think about it. And that's not
Literally.
a joke. Come on, man. I'm serious. No, I'm serious.
He is serious.
No, I'm serious. Think about it.
How serious can he be?
That's a fact.
That's
a
fact,
fact.
That's a fact-based thing. That's 29 times in one appearance for at a South Korean-owned business. And, they're manufacturing in Michigan. It's probably a quid pro quo going on somewhere. That's Lunch Bucket Joe. Yesterday, Joe Biden spent time with Native American tribes, nations, and he was speaking to them, and he said some really dumb stuff because he's not a smart guy. Joe Biden.
Last year, Jill, my wife, traveled with Deb to the Cherokee Immersion School in Oklahoma.
Immersion School.
The Cherokee Nation used part of this funding to start building the second school and revitalize the use of the Cherokee language.
They do transgender
By the way,
stuff,
she spent a lot of time on other reservations, other nations as well.
She makes
I'm worried
reservations.
she's not going to come home one of these days when she goes.
Worried she's not
You think
gonna
I'm
come
joking? I'm telling you.
There
I
it
hear
is
more
again.
about the Navajos than I hear about me. You all think I'm kidding, don't you? Anyway.
That's just yesterday. Following on what CNS News was doing, everywhere he goes, he tries to reassure people he's not kidding. It's a tell. It's a tell. Every time he says, I mean it, I'm serious, I'm not kidding, it means that he's not serious. I don't think he's kidding. He's just making stuff up, or he's, being himself. That is to say, a complete idiot. So we've got that going for us. I got more Joe Biden and news media people. These anchor people, they're always having sex and stuff under their lucite desk. We've got that coming up from Good Morning America and more. Did you know that banks they can legally confiscate your money in their banks to bail themselves out? There's a catch, though. It must be during extraordinary times. With the economy and the world in the shape we're in right now, don't you think we're in extraordinary times? I've got to say, I think it's time to call 888-446-5320 to get your personal wealth protection guide, because my friends at American Alternative Assets are there to help you protect your retirement savings by rolling over your IRA or 401k into a gold IRA. The fact is, you can hold physical gold and silver in your retirement account while still maintaining its tax-deferred status. So call today, 888-446-5320, to get your free wealth protection guide. This guide's going to answer all the questions you have. Protect your savings now before it's too late. Call American Alternative Assets at 888-4GOLD20 to secure your free gold and silver guide today. That's 888-446-5320. Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Yeah. And the Fisher House Foundation. We're doing our part today. And we're asking you to do your part, too, by calling 888-294-8560 and give what you can give. Make it $10, make it $1 million.
He's got to learn to take a compliment a little bit better. When people applaud, he always stops them and says, no, I'm serious. No.
There's only one Chris Plante. The Chris Plante Show.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is frustrating. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills And it really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. Well, MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. And it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access from the comfort of your home. Very worth looking into during Medicare open enrollment, which ends December 7th. If you join right now, your second month share will be free. So don't miss this chance. Call 800-PSALM-16. That's 800-PSALM-16. 800-PSALM-16.
The World Tournament of Soccer happening in Qatar is finally here. And with all the weird kickoff times and all the other sports happening simultaneously, it can be kind of hard to keep up. So to make sure you're up to speed, be sure to listen to Qatar Kick Around for the daily wrap-up of all the action from the tournament. From the group stage all the way to the final, Andy, Lars, and Peter are here for you with recaps and opinions of what happened that day in Qatar. Everything can be found at thekickaround.com, the Cumulus Podcast channel on YouTube, or wherever you listen.
As I mentioned, today we're helping out our great friends at Fisher House and raising money, more than $143,000 so far. And the phone number to give generously is 888-294-8560. On the phone with us right now, we've got Jenny Hall, and Jenny Hall is liaison to Fisher Houses. And Jenny was the house manager for Fisher House in Alaska, and of course, military wife. And Jenny, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to share my experiences today. Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Well, tell me, you were in Alaska. I was just in Alaska a couple of months ago again, but tell me about what it was like working in the Fisher House in Alaska.
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful. We're one of the only Fisher houses that has heated sidewalks, and I was very happy as a manager that I did not have to shovel that snow off those sidewalks, so that was very nice.
That is great. That's a nice touch. The whole world should have heated sidewalks.
Yes.
A warmer planet is a better planet. Everybody knows that. So tell me, so in Alaska, we're talking mostly about military personnel and veterans who are Alaskans, or what?
Absolutely. Most of them were Alaskans, although we did have guests that would come from the Pacific regions, Japan, Guam, Thailand, areas like that would come in to have their health care at the VA center there as well. And transportation is always in Alaska one of the things that the families have the most trouble with, and I think that's kind of a regional thing with all locations, depending on where people live and how far they're coming for their medical care. Just this week, I was doing a tour at the Fort Belvoir, Virginia Fisher House, and a gentleman was sharing with me that he lives over 100 miles away, but had to have daily radiation and chemotherapy appointments. And with that 100 miles, he wouldn't have had the resources or the energy to go back and forth. And he was sharing that he really felt like the Fisher House at Fort Belvoir was saving his life, because the same day he got the notification that his tumor was shrinking. So Fisher Houses make that transportation issue a non-issue for our servicemen and women.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And I know, most of us, or many of us, certainly know people that have undergone chemotherapy, and it just beats you up, and you just have to plot. You have to find some place to sit down or lay down afterward, and the idea of getting in the car and driving 100 miles is out of the question.
Right, absolutely.
Wow,
absolutely.
That's
yes.
an amazing story. Go ahead.
Yes. You mentioned earlier that the houses are beautiful, and I just wanted to expand on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. Also safe and clean. One of the favorite things of a Fisher House manager is to have a veteran or a service member come to the house for the very first time, not know what to expect, and to realize that this is something that American citizens have donated money as a charitable gift to give directly for them because they feel that those service members are worthy of having that gift. Many of them, this house is nicer than their own homes, and they don't feel.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. 888-294-8560. Yes, the President of the United States. I was looking up more stories about the Democrats and their after-school Satan Club, and how the Washington Post in 2016 was already talking about how an after-school Satan Club could be coming to your kid's school soon. They're promoting it. You know, they love the after-school Satan Club and Bible bans. That's your Democrat Party. Vote for them. You know what you're getting. A front row seat in hell. Speaking of which, this morning, the news broke. Democrat House Committee receives Donald Trump's federal tax returns from Joe Biden's IRS. Remember Lois Lerner and the IRS targeting conservative organizations? Any organization that had the word patriot in it, for example, was targeted by the Obama-Biden IRS. And now the IRS, which is just another organ of the corrupt Democrat Party, like the FBI and so many other government institutions, it's the permanent bureaucracy. You might call it the deep state. And they wheedle their way into the federal bureaucracy, and they view themselves as apparatchiks, Soviet style, of the Democrat Party. And they do the bidding of and the work of, and some try to stay within the lines and some don't. But the IRS, after much wrangling, and the Supreme Court ruled that it could be handed over. So that means when the Republicans take over the House of Representatives, they can start demanding Nancy Pelosi's, well, not demanding, just requesting, because now, all right, we'll take Nancy Pelosi's tax returns, and Hunter Biden, and James Biden, and Joe Biden's tax returns. Everybody, come on, it's sunlight is the best disinfectant. Well, the light of day will see us through. But in reality, these are political weapons. This is what the Democrats have been fighting for years. And NBC Fake News has the headline, Trump's tax returns now in hands of House Democrats. That's the headline. They're very excited about that. They're touching themselves. CNN, House Committee receives Donald Trump's federal tax returns from IRS. The BBC is on the story. Trump taxes, : They love their colons. U.S. lawmakers get access to former presidents' returns. Now, I think we should see Barack Obama's returns, since we're looking at former presidents' tax returns. And honestly, The Guardian, the Daily Beast, they've all got it. Now, here's there are a number of dimensions to this moment in American political history. Democrats have been, with their crooked prosecutors in New York and in Georgia, targeting their political enemies. Soviet style again. Honestly, it is like Lavrentiy Beria, the KGB chief under Joseph Stalin. You show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Meaning pick anybody out of a crowd and we'll gin up something to prosecute him for. And they've tried and they've tried and they've tried, and they've failed and they've failed and they've failed. But like the fanatics that they are, they will never give up. They will go to the grave, clawing the dirt, trying to get one more shred of something on Donald Trump. It is fanaticism writ large. And here's what we will see today. The beginning of leaks from the Democrats, selective leaks of a sentence here, a heavily redacted page there, designed to ding Donald Trump. And you know that the Democrats at the IRS have already combed through it, and they've already determined, I'm guessing, that there's not a lot to leak. But the Democrats will find something to leak to the press, and the press will take it from there because they're in cahoots. So look for that. And then when the Republicans in January take over the House of Representatives, they should immediately start collecting the tax returns of the political enemies, because that's what this is all about, of the Republican Party. And honestly, legitimately, they should look at the Biden family and their entanglements with Ukraine and Russia and China and all kinds of international, foreign, business and governmental interests, because this is a family that has gotten rich, millions and millions and millions and millions rolling in from Ukraine and from what we can tell, it looks like from China and certainly from Russia. And it's about time that there was some scrutiny of some transparency, another fake Washington word, when it comes to the Biden family's global business dealings. It's not like Hunter Biden is some self-made business tycoon, because he's not. He traded, nor is Joe Biden. Joe Biden has traded on his office, and Hunter Biden has traded on his name. And, the emails reveal that Hunter Biden emailed his daughter that his father, Joe Biden, makes him hand over half of what he earns. Why would he make him hand over half of what he earns? He said he would not subject his daughter to that same structure. Well, what is that about? And the news media, the New York Times on down, they just yawn. CNN, what's the thing? Oh yeah, and it's it was all done through channels and the Supreme Court. But now that the Supreme Court has ruled that the Congress can request the income tax returns for whatever number of years, the Republicans should respond in kind. That's a turn of phrase that Joe Biden occasionally uses but does not understand. Remember, he said if Russia used chemical weapons in Ukraine, that we'd respond in kind, which means that we would use chemical weapons, I guess, in Ukraine against Russians. But he doesn't know what those words mean because he's a moron. That's a problem. Yesterday was hump day, and we mentioned Bill Clinton. Then we learned late yesterday that Bill Clinton has the Wuhan. He's got the Wuhan Red Death. You know what? Maybe we should, and they say he's doing fine. He's doing fine. He's probably got a lot of immunities from all of the various venereal diseases and antibiotics he's taken over the years. Bill Clinton has COVID, but says he's doing fine thanks to vaccine. That's the CBS News headline, because it's always the party line. It always must be the party line. It's got to be the party line. All right? But he's doing fine, and I wish him no harm. I hope that he recovers, and most people do. Of course, most of the people dying of COVID these days over the age of 65, right? And now the majority of people dying from COVID are fully vaccinated. So how's that working out?
COVID is God's gift to the left.
Jane Fonda. There's Hanoi Jane. She loves the communists and murderers. But not America or Americans. She's a perfectly run-of-the-mill Democrat at this point. And that's her giggling. Hee. COVID is God's gift to the left.
COVID is God's gift to the left.
We don't hear enough of that, do we? If only she were a Republican, we'd hear a lot about that. Pretty amazing stuff. Good Morning America. It turns out that the mornings are better than we knew. It turns out like it's Happy Morning America. Their co-hosts, T.J. Holmes and Amy Robach, have both dumped their spouses because they're hooking up. They're hooking up with each other. That's a Lucite desk phenomenon we got going there. Good Morning America co-anchors T.J. Holmes and Amy Robach have split from their spouses, both of them, after carrying on a months-long affair, according to published reports. This is what happens. I always tell you how they're all having sex with each other and stuff, and that's true. And then bring some members of Congress in here, and they're going to be spreading monkeypox like it's a wildfire. Robach, who is married to Andrew Shue, and Holmes, who is wed to lawyer Marilee Fiebig. I'm going to go with Fiebig. Could be Fiebig, maybe Fiebig. Not a good name either way. Have been hooking up since March and ditched their spouses in August, according to Page 6 in the New York Post. And the Daily Mail out of the UK first broke the story of the alleged torrid affair. And they got all kinds of pictures of them, out and smooching and grabbing butt and doing it for months now. And imagine being married to one of these people, and this is how you find out it's in the papers. It's in the papers. Well, these people. These people. Man, oh, man. But that's, Democrats. So
we now know that Mika and Joe are engaged. Congratulations, you guys. It's like when a Me Too works out.
That was kind of like when a Me Too works out. Again, it's, that's why eventually they had to put in those lucite desks so it kind of cut down on that stuff going on with the hands all under the desks and everything like that. Yes, sir. All kinds of stuff. I've got, and speaking of the IRS, I was just talking about the IRS. Democrat senator and a well-known white supremacist, Sheldon Whitehouse. You think there are a lot of white supremacists named Sheldon? Does he go by Shelley? I don't think so. He's a rich guy. I think he married well. And the Daily Signal from the Heritage Foundation has the story, exclusive, : they love their colons too. Documents reveal Senate Democrat pressured the IRS and Department of Justice to target conservative groups. There's a shocker, huh? Democrat Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island called for revoking the tax exemption for a conservative group for not masking up, and socially distancing during the pandemic. He insisted on a slew of investigations. These are abuses of power all over the place, like third world abuses of power, and perfectly typical. For investigations of other conservative groups, and pressed for the Internal Revenue Service to expand its reach. Joe Biden and the Democrats just funded another 87,000 IRS agents. Remember when they put the ads out about using guns, with pictures of guns and the job applications and stuff? Sheldon Whitehouse, a total of 176 pages of correspondence from and to Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, the Democrat, were obtained from the IRS by conservative watchdog group, the American Accountability Foundation, through the Freedom of Information Act, and shared with the Daily Signal at the Heritage Foundation, where they're just doing a great job these days. It's abundantly clear that Senator Whitehouse is trying to take the 87,000 new IRS agents and put them to work investigating me and my friends, because he doesn't like our politics, says Tom Jones, president and founder of the American Accountability Foundation. He told the Daily Signal in a telephone interview, and this is quite amazing. The letters span from January 19th of 2021, that's the day before Joe Biden was inaugurated, through May of 2022. And the senator is calling on the IRS and the Department of Justice to target and investigate his political and the Democrat Party's political adversaries, because they're filthy, radical leftists, terrorists, and white supremacists. Why do you say white supremacists? Well, because every time I think of Sheldon Whitehouse, I have a memory, which the Washington Post does not and the New York Times does not. I go back to, let's go to August of 2017, where the GoLocalProv.com out of Rhode Island, Sheldon Whitehouse's Whites Only Summer Beach Club. He belonged, and I believe he still belongs, to this very exclusive Rhode Island. A lot of fancy people in Rhode Island, the cottages, mansions on the water and stuff. And he belongs to this white-only beach club, where members of the Astor family and the Rockefeller family belong. Spouting Rock Beach Association, the SRBA, very exclusive, casually known to the ultra-wealthy as Bailey's Beach Club. And there are no members of color. There are no black members. no Hispanic members, and that's fine. In 2021, the New York Post had this story. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse defends his whites-only beach club. Says he's not a member himself. No, his wife is a member. He just goes there. It's, the rich are different, someone once wrote in
Back
Rhode
in
Island.
2017, you had expressed concerns about the membership of the all-white Bailey's Beach Club, said that you hoped it would become more diverse. Now, your family's been members. Your wife is one of the largest shareholders. Has there been any traction in that? Are there any minority members of the club now?
I think the people who are running the place are still working on that, and I'm sorry it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that was, years after the story first came out. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? They gave us the Klan and Jim Crow and the Confederate States of America and his private exclusive all-white beach club. No problem.
You're listening to The Chris Plante Show.
We're back, and as I have mentioned, today we're working with our friends at Fisher House to help raise a bunch of money from great Americans like yourselves. The number is 888-294-8560. And on the line right now, we've got Tish Stropes, who is the Vice President for Strategic Initiatives with Fisher House. Hey, Tish, thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks so much for having us on your show.
You bet your bottom dollar. Well, tell me, you work with the Hero Miles and Hotels for Heroes program with Fisher House. Tell me what that's about.
I do. Our Hero Miles program, we ask folks to donate their frequent flyer miles so that we can get families to the bedside of our wounded, injured, and ill service members, veterans, and also get them to events where they can continue to stay on that path towards their recovery journey. So we are buying those airplane tickets for them to get them where they need to be when it matters most.
Because Fisher House wants to help from soup to nuts, get them from their home to the Fisher House to be close and help them to fly and a place to stay and meals and everything, right?
That's right. Oftentimes when you have a crisis and we typically never plan for these emergencies to happen for someone to be wounded or injured. But to know that, Hero Miles is there and can book that flight and get you where you need to be sometimes within hours of an accident happening or a day or so, and knowing that you can be there by your loved one's side and not worry about that burden of how far is this going to set me back, having to buy a plane ticket, that's $1,500 and I can't afford. We want to remove those burdens and make sure that's something that our families are not worried about and they're just focusing on taking care of their loved one.
Right. And it's something that the military doesn't do. It's not funded. The government doesn't take care of all these things. And Fisher House and the Fisher family, the wonderful Fisher family, stepped in, recognized the needs, saw the gaps, knew that the private sector was better equipped to do a great job of accommodating these needs. And boy, do they. Do you.
That's right. Thank you. We bridge those gaps, right, between what the military can and cannot do. We want to hold them to what they can do and make sure that they're doing that, but make sure that the burden isn't on those families. It shouldn't be. We need to be there to step up and make sure they have everything they need when they need it, most. Oftentimes families won't come and ask for what they need. So we want to be there to ensure that they can surround their loved one and take care of them and get them out of the hospital quickly and on that continued recovery journey. Those family members are on that journey too, so we need to ensure we are taking care of that family when we can.
Well, God bless you and the entire organization. Tish Stropes, the vice president at Fisher House for Strategic Initiatives. And listen, the phone number is 888-294-8560. There is no better organization.